When were you last over here?
1932, wasn't it?
That's right.
Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy, the world, felt the profound loss of not just two iconic entertainers, but an extraordinary partnership that had brought joy to millions. They had created some of the most memorable moments in film history, becoming true legends of slapstick and an enduring symbol of friendship. Yet behind their smiles and laughter, their bond was far more complex than the public ever knew. So when Oliver Hardy died in 1957, fans everywhere expected Stan Laurel, the man who had been at his side for decades through triumphs and struggles, to be there to say his final goodbye. But to everyone's shock and confusion, Stan was nowhere to be found at Oliver's funeral. Why would a lifelong partner turn away from a final farewell? What was the real story behind his sudden and unexpected absence? In this video, we'll reveal the hidden truth behind Stan Laurel's surprising decision to skip Oliver Hardy's funeral, long before they became cinema's most famous comedy team. Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy had very different beginnings. They were two distinct lives unfolding on opposite sides of the world, unknowingly destined to collide. Stan Laurel, born Arthur Stanley Jefferson on June 16, 1890 in Alveston, England, was raised in the world of theater. His father managed playhouses, and young Stan spent most of his childhood backstage witnessing the magic of performance firsthand. Unlike other boys his age, he wasn't interested in sports or games. He was captivated by the world of illusion, laughter, and the roar of an audience. By his teenage years, he was already developing a knack for stagecraft, meticulously perfecting pratfalls, miming expressions, and studying comedic timing with scholarly dedication. He joined Fred Karno's renowned comedy troupe, the very same one that had discovered Charlie Chaplin. As they toured across Britain and later America, Stan sharpened his skills in vaudeville. Though Chaplin would go on to be the troupe star, Laurel quietly learned every detail, absorbing how to create humor from silence and make audiences laugh with the slightest look or movement. When he finally transitioned into films in the 1910s, he worked as both an actor and a writer, still searching for his own unique voice. The skinny Englishman was clearly destined for comedy, but his path to greatness was still missing a crucial piece. Meanwhile, Oliver Hardy was born Norville Hardy on January 18, 1892 in Harlem, Georgia. Unlike Laurel's theatrical upbringing, Hardy's early life was marked by heartbreak. His father, a Civil War veteran, died when Oliver was less than 2 years old, leaving his mother to raise him and his siblings alone. As a restless child, Oliver found solace in music and singing, developing a deep, powerful voice. Though he briefly attended military and law schools, his heart was never in academics. He was drawn to performance and food. His love for both gave him a larger-than-life presence, both physically and in spirit. Hardy stumbled into show business almost by chance, first managing a small movie theater before stepping in front of the camera himself. By the 1910s, he was appearing in silent shorts, often cast as the heavy or the arrogant villain. His round figure and stern face made him a perfect foil, and he worked relentlessly, appearing in hundreds of films before fate brought him to Hal Roach Studios in the 1920s. Two men, one a quiet English artist who Studied laughter like a science, the other a charming southerner whose imposing size and bluster concealed a gentle heart. Their early lives and careers couldn't have been more different. Yet, they were unconsciously moving toward each other when their paths finally met. Their contrasting worlds merged into one of the most enduring partnerships in the history of cinema. The story of Laurel and Hardy's origin feels both like a happy accident and a fated encounter. Before they ever became a duo, both men had navigated the unpredictable world of entertainment on their own, still searching for their true identity. Stan Laurel, the lanky, wide-eyed Englishman, had honed his skills in music halls, mastering pantomime and split-second timing. Oliver Hardy, the stout southerner with a booming voice, had forged his path through countless small roles that showcased his natural authority and comedic bluster. They were two men from completely different backgrounds, yet fate would put them under the same roof. That roof was Hal Roach Studios in the mid-1920s, a hub for comedy at a time when Hollywood was still finding its rhythm. Roach's lot was more than just a workplace. It was a creative laboratory where trial and error forged legends. Though Stan and Ollie had shared a brief scene in The Lucky Dog in 1921, no one could have known then that cinema's most iconic partnership had just taken its first breath. It wasn't until Roach's team, most often credited to director Leo McCarey, recognized the comedic magic in their contrasts that the seeds of their partnership were truly planted. Their official debut as a team came with Putting Pants on Philip in 1927, a silent short that quietly marked the birth of their unique rhythm. In it, audiences got their first look at what would become their signature dynamic. Stan, the clueless simpleton, lost in a confusing world, and Ollie, the self-important man of authority, always undone by his own arrogance. From that moment on, they were no longer two separate actors. They were a pair, connected by timing, instinct, and a silent understanding. The late 1920s were a volatile but exciting time. Hollywood was on the verge of a major change, and silent comedies were giving way to talkies. Many great clowns of the era struggled during this transition, their voices failing to match the magic of their silent personas. But Laurel and Hardy proved to be different. Their first sound, short, unaccustomed as we are in 1929, showed something remarkable. Their comedy wasn't just visual. It was musical. Stan's hesitant whimpers, Ollie's exasperated sighs, and the awkward pauses between them became instruments in a beautiful symphony of laughter. Talking pictures didn't destroy them. They perfected them. In those early years, they created short films that would stand the test of time. Big Business is a masterpiece of escalating mayhem. By the start of the 1930s, they had found their voices, their rhythm, and their loyal audience. Their famous catchphrase, "Well, here's another fine mess you've gotten me into," was more than just a line. It was the eternal frustration of Ollie and the eternal naivety of Stan. What gave these films their lasting appeal wasn't just the jokes, but the genuine bond that lay beneath it all. Laurel and Hardy's friendship wasn't an act. Off-screen, they shared a deep mutual respect that helped them get through the challenges of Hollywood. That authenticity bled into their performances, giving their comedy a humanity that elevated it beyond mere slapstick. You laughed at them, yes, but you also cared about them. Looking back, those first years together feel like the delicate dawn of something both beautiful and fleeting. Two men, an unlikely pair, stumbled into each other's lives and created a legacy that would outlast them both. Their partnership began not with a bang, but with a quiet realization that in each other's presence they became something far greater than they could ever be alone. And though decades have passed, the magic of those early shorts still lingers like a bittersweet memory. Echoes of laughter from a forgotten era, when two clowns taught the world the art of being foolish and in doing so became immortal. Laurel and Hardy's rise to fame remains one of cinema's greatest stories. They began in the silent era, where shorts like Big Business and Liberty showcased their genius for visual chaos and escalating foolishness. When the film industry transitioned to sound, many comedians faltered. But the duo found new life. Their first talking short, Unaccustomed as We Are, in 1929, and later the Laurel Hardy murder case proved that their voices carried as much comedy as their faces. With Another Fine Mess in 1930, they introduced audiences to the famous catchphrase that would echo for decades. The weary complaint of Hardy constantly undone by Laurel's innocent bumbling. The early 1930s brought their first foray into full-length features. Pardon Us, in 1931, placed the pair behind prison walls, stretching their gags into a full narrative. 2 years later, Sons of the Desert gave the world what many consider their masterpiece, a sly tale of husbands weaving lies to attend a large convention, only to be exposed with perfect comic inevitability. 1961, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and an honorary Academy Award for Laurel paid tribute to the happiness they had given. After a tall K in 1951, the curtain quietly closed on Laurel and Hardy's film career. Though they talked about new projects, nothing ever came to be. For Oliver, the screen went dark for good. He would never again appear in another film or television role. The duo had once flourished on theater tours across Britain and Europe, enjoying the warmth of live audiences. But by the 1950s, their advancing age and frail health made such trips fewer and further between. Hardy had long battled the consequences of his weight, his fluctuating size straining his body year after year. In 1954, tragedy struck when he suffered a major stroke. It took away his easy movement, weakened his speech, and with it his ability to perform. For a man whose life had been built on timing, expression, and voice, this was a cruel blow. Friends watched with sadness as his once strong figure withered. The round commanding presence that had made him instantly recognizable seemed to vanish. By 1957, his decline was irreversible. 2 more devastating strokes came in rapid succession, leaving little hope for recovery. On August 7th of that year, Oliver Hardy passed away at just 65 years old. His death marked not just the end of a man's life, but the fading of half of a partnership that had defined an entire era. In his final years, Hardy's silence had its own profound weight. The laughter he once created so effortlessly was gone. Yet his memory lived on as a giant of comedy whose offstage struggles were as human and heartbreaking as the joy he gave the world. When Oliver Hardy died in August 1957, everyone expected to see his partner of more than 3 decades at his graveside. Yet Stan Laurel never attended the funeral. To those on the outside, his absence seemed strange, even cold, and it led to whispers of tension between the two. But the truth was far more heartbreaking. Laurel was completely devastated by Hardy's death. The loss left him so emotionally and physically weak that he became ill, simply unable to face the ceremony. His grief was not distant. It was overwhelming. For more than 30 years, Hardy had been more than a co-star. He was Stan's closest friend, his creative equal, his daily partner in laughter. The thought of standing over Hardy's coffin was simply too much to bear. There was another reason, too. Laurel knew the nature of Hollywood's press all too well. He was afraid that if he showed up, the media would focus on him, speculating about his emotions and turning the day into a story about Stan, instead of a final tribute to Babe, the nickname he lovingly used for Hardy. 2. Laurel, the funeral was meant to honor his friend, not to fill gossip columns. Staying away, as painful as it was, ensured the focus stayed on Hardy's life. When asked about his absence, Laurel simply said, Babe would understand.